Thanks for coming on this gorgeous and warm summer day. It's kind of beautiful. So welcome to the Poetry Flash reading series. I'm Joyce Jenkins, editor and director. Today we present two stellar poets, Janée J. Baugher and Alice Jones. We're delighted to have you with us today, very much so. Their books are here for purchase, and Janée's is also available online at the nonprofit bookshop.org/shop/poetryflash should you decide to buy it online after the reading and do not want to buy it from Jeff Bezos. So, to know who is reading in our series in advance, join our mailing list at poetryflash.org or sign up here on our analog clipboard. Less frustrating than the website, I'm sure. And you'll receive our event emails. You can find videos of this event and all of our readings on our Poetry Flash YouTube channel. And the YouTube video of this reading will be posted very soon after this reading, tomorrow, if possible, but probably tomorrow, we're expecting. To support our work in this series, visit poetryflash.org/give. Thanks to Art House Gallery and impresario Harold Adler, who you've seen in action here. And thanks to Stephen Bunza and Rosalinda Monroy for their help today. Now, one thing, should we leave the fan on during the reading? What is your preference? Is it going to interfere with hearing the reading? Not? Okay. If it does, just let me know, okay? Otherwise, we'll leave it on. Keep the air circulating.
Sounds very clear.
Okay, good. Janée J. Baugher's new book, winner of the Tupelo Press Dorset Prize, which is wonderful, is the Andrew Wyeth Chronicles. The judge, Shane McCrae, said, "The first two poems so excited me that I had to stop reading, stand up and leave the room, and cross a few items off of my daily list of things to do before I could return to the manuscript. I knew I wouldn't be able to judge the manuscript fairly if I just rode that initial buzz to the end. But as I walked down the hall and then down the stairs, I was thinking about those poems, and in particular about the form in which the poet had chosen to write them. Each poem is a series of numbered notes, sort of like cosmic footnotes, spiritual footnotes, some lineated, some written like prose, each note implicitly guiding the reader to more information about the poem's titular paintings. The notes brilliantly stitch the act of composition to the page while also holding the poems open. The best lyric poems, after all, are finally irresolvable. They cannot be finished closed. Via the notes, one sees through the paintings to which they refer and imagines oneself in the position of Andrew Wyeth himself, a step away from the painting he has just made, as it were, rather than in front of it. What a strange, impossible effect. But in the Andrew Wyeth Chronicles, it is achieved again and again. I just want to say that when I read these remarkable poems, I was surprised too. I was really surprised. I don't think I've ever encountered this unusual perspective. Usually when we write a poem, a ekphrastic poem, we come at it from what the artwork makes us feel. This poet's innovative approach somehow takes us takes us inside the mind, spirit, and creative process of the artist himself as he's making the work. Her previous poetry books are The Body's Physics and Coördinates of Yes, and she's the author of the Ekphrastic Writer, Creating Art-Influenced Poetry, Fiction, and Nonfiction, which is, as far as I know, the only craft book of its kind. She's here, all the way from Seattle. Please welcome Janée Baugher.
Groundhog Day, 1959. I do my best work after the models have gone. Carl was off at a farm sale, but his place was set. White dinner plate, cup and saucer, a knife on an ironed white tablecloth. Imagine black coffee in a cup, spoon on the saucer. Imagine a steak, mashed potatoes, and limp cabbage. Months later, I learned I could better capture his quality without him having been there. Wallpapers and muted mustard with dabs of lavender and white for flowers. Shafts of sun grip tiny details on the peeling wallpaper. I wanted you to feel the enclosure of the building and yet the country outside. At first, I had a dog sleeping in it who always barks and snarls at you. The snowy ground outside as impenetrable as the barbed wire fence strung about their property. Wrapped with chain, a cedar log poised to drive through the window. But finally, the reddish end of the log became his mouth, and the jagged wood his barred fangs. I kept the yellow walls with their dainty flowers, and I kept the knife. Must I paint a chair where there is no chair in order for you to intuit a chair? Don't overtell the story, don't burden the picture. Be as concise as poets, I tell myself. The empty plate and the cup on its saucer suffice. Young Bull, 1960. In the barnyard beside a short stone wall, Carl's bull stands with the sun on his face. The bull's coat, a dervish of textures, cheap velvet and wilted moss. When Carl brought the young bull out for me, I painted him on the spot. His hooves are shiny black. He wears no bell and is as angular as a casket. I thought of Kerouac's On the Road and what comes of an unraveling scroll of paper on which the hand can work unimpeded. The bull will not bend his legs to settle down on a bed of straw. He could be listening for the truck of workers to return, for the boots in gravel, or for the barn doors to creak open. Rather, from an upper window, it's Anna shouting, and every time she did, the bull's ears would flicker and twist, and suddenly I could see that pink of the inside of his ear. I bought this long scroll-like piece of paper. I started with the house and got interested in the bull's head, and the rest flowed out. A bull never withholds his wild side. Evening at Kerner's, 1970. Trees divested of their leaves reach for the icy winter sky. The sun begins to set over the valley, the muddy pasture in the foreground, the grassy hill leading to the stand of spruce beyond. When a stream meanders through a man's land, it's both a pleasure and a peril. On the slope is a fence wooden and weathered from years, demarcating land before the land on which their livestock trod. Their barn can hold a half bushel of hay and 3 or 4 mares. She assists with the birth of a foal or drives to town for an essential that's halted a task, though her chores, food preserving, meal preparing, dish washing, floor sweeping, clothes tending, are hers alone. The light's on in a lower window. It's supper time, and everyone who's expected has come in from the property and has gone to wash up. On Sundays, the field's at rest, and no matter the season, she and Carl take tea or lemonade out on the porch. Together they sit and to each other say not a word. I think one's art goes as far and as deep as one's love. Carl says, when you're in the trenches, you keep your head down. Leukemia, brightness and blood, cellular accumulation. No single light shines eternally. Carl's flickering soul. Spruce Grove, 1970. Every day I stroll the property like it's my job. I sketch en plein air, a fancy term for in my golf cart. It was late summer and I settled on a stand of spruce, brush, and fern. Trees stabbed up from earth and competed for sun. In this grove, I felt the eternity of rocks and hills, and I knew it should be watercolor. The ferns felt dry, crinkly between my fingers. This was long after new shoots had sprung, ferns unfurling curlicues, the tips of fern round as a forest is round. I felt minuscule. I felt happy. When I am out walking, searching, observing, I am almost like a sharpshooter, marking the shades of green between old growth and new growth. Shafts of light through trunks, branches, and leaves, looking to see how easily everything is connected. The wind combs leaves of fern and they sway without purpose. I think about how when I work with models, I hate that they can see me. What do they think about me is not what I want to be thinking about. I sat down where I stood, the crunch of dry needles under a body that knows it must inhabit what it hopes to render. None of us can do any better than to turn toward the sun, no matter how out of reach it can be. The forest floor is mossy in places, and the ferns are bountiful and do not question their fernness. The Kerners, 1971. Painting Carl in the stark attic as he was, short white hair, heavy coat, collar upturned against his nape, was all I could hope for. I rendered the moose mount on the wall and wood panel of the door into which he practically disappeared when I felt my father all around. That my pictures weren't narrative worried him. Of this one he'd say, "You must put a gun in his hand." I gestured to Carl's rifle, which I hoped wasn't loaded, and when he held it backwards, appeared to be a bayonet. And just as he was propping it under his arm, Anna appeared. The muzzle aorta aimed. Her beige house coat with faint red dots like cast-off blood. Art is accident, chance, and the willingness to lie in wait. With Anna in her white dust cap knotted at the forehead and a collar that I could darken in, the moose became an overstatement. Timing is so important in a painting. If you miss, it was either a matter of the target having moved or you having not looked correctly, my father said. A picture isn't what I can make from something real, but what I see with eyes closed. Carl's aim was true. All she had to do was walk into it. Anna Kerner, 1971. It seemed worthwhile to sketch a sadness not everyone possesses. I just wanted to get to the truth. She wouldn't oblige me, so I imagined her standing in profile before the window I had painted before. I separated egg yolks from white, pricked the yolks and mixed them with pastels. The loose skin of her face, creases about her eyes and mouth, a tense jaw, white, chin-length hair tied back at the forehead. I knew no other way to paint her except in a dark sweater with a tan apron as someone whose bones were sucked dry. Not even I can obliterate or paint madness from her mind. Out the window, I softened their field with a dust of snow and 2 conifers on the hillside. Her confessions to me I won't even commit to paper. No one can save her. Her arms I made strong enough to carry consolation. Sunlight through the window falls onto the sill and on the wallpapered walls on which I brushed pink and blue petals. As for me, I began small, with a peppermint I had stolen as a child that I was too ashamed to eat. Anna Climbing the Stairs, 1975. I couldn't get her to pose, so I just sat there and waited. Finally, she shuffles toward the stairs. Her head drifts down as if she doesn't deserve to hold it up, as if she's indifferent to the body and its place in this world. Exiled from Germany, her feet turn out, but her weight shifts forward. The skirt that bellows around her calves is burdened neither by the seams that are drawn tautly, nor those that are unsure of their thread. I spent a month and a half just watching her disappear, like a zoo animal, and I, the spectator. Not everyone loves a painter. Has she any claim to this country, Carl's farm, their house? There's sorrow in the way the handkerchief reveals her nape, and the shadow of her leg is a promise never given. Although I'm as close as tonight's pork chops and spatzel, I can offer her nothing. Is Carl the moon who eclipses her light? Whether or not Anna is a darkening sky is not my story to tell. She mutters to herself and to no one in particular. I draw from memory her moving lips. I think I would probably commit suicide if I couldn't paint. Anna keeps climbing in my dreams, and in my dreams I follow. Home Comfort, 1976. Does Anna have a single friend in this world? She makes no eye contact with me as she kneads, chops, mixes, scrubs. I paint her turned away and blurred. Prisoner stripes on her shirt, blue and white for valor. On the kitchen shelf are saucepans and a glass pitcher. Hanging from nails on the shelf lip, spatula, handheld colander, serving fork and spoons. Dutch ovens and stock pots with lids warm on the stovetop. It's incidental if my viewers read the pans as helmets or the stovepipe as the periscope of a submarine whose men fear crushed depth. After he spits whiskey into the fire, his face she'll turn her face from. The red of her handkerchief for the stove knobs and trim on the table was the red I had used for Christina's geraniums. Dangling on a rope across the wall, I place a white rag like a tourniquet before blood. Bruises on her wrists and a new limp I don't include. I make white the oven, but I could have used black for an open door. Black like how wanting more diseases the mind. For Anna, I'll paint a brighter yellow for her walls. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Janée. How are we doing with the fan? Up? Thumbs up or thumbs up? I gotcha. Okay. I'm just checking. I want you to be happy. Uh-oh. Is this? Uh-oh.
My motto was, don't rush, don't worry, don't stress. And go with the flow. That's it. That's a very old expression.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's perfect. Thank you, my friend. Okay. Very interesting. Alice Jones is a poet, physician, psychoanalyst, and swimmer. I hope that's right, roughly. But that's how I understand it. Her new hybrid memoir is Cadence of Vanishing. Ben Ramke says of it, as it happens, I began reading this memoir on Veterans Day, on the official Monday holiday that now obscures the memories themselves, painful events replaced by sales and ceremonies. What Alice Jones has to offer through this work is a searing, searching, memorializing, informed by professional medical competence and further formed by her poet's ear and eye and nerve. This entire document is a faceted poem consisting of physical and emotional events, adding up to a life lived fully consciously, fully aware of oblivion awaiting us, but a living determination to hold on to the knowledge and even wisdom also lying in wait. Alice Jones is the author of 7 collections of poetry, including The Knot, winner of the Beatrice Holly Award, Isthmus, winner of the Jane Kenyon Chapbook Award, Gorgeous Morning, that we have here, and Plunge, a finalist for the Northern California Book Award. Her most recent poetry collection that we have here too is Vault. And it's so wonderful to have her read with us here today because I really wanted her to read when Vault came out, but we were foiled by COVID, so this is lovely. Her work has appeared in many journals and anthologies, including Plowshares Poetry, Boston Review, Denver Quarterly, Best American Poetry. She's been awarded fellowships and honors from Breadloaf, National Endowment for the Arts, the first annual Narrative Magazine Poetry Prize, and 2 different awards from the Poetry Society of America. Please welcome Alice Jones.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Joyce, for hosting it and for getting us all here. Thank you for the beautiful space. And thank you to Janée for traveling from Seattle for this. I first met Janée about 10 years ago at a reading in Boston, and she was kind enough to ask me to contribute to her Ekphrastic Writer book. And we've stayed in touch since then, so it's lovely to be reading together. Joyce mentioned Vault, which came out early in 2020, and because of COVID, we hadn't yet figured out all the Zoom readings that soon blossomed and followed, so I feel like this book has never had an outing, so I'm going to read a couple of poems from this before the memoir. The poems, there's a series within the book that are named A-E-I-O-U, and then the others have one-word titles for the most part. So this is A, and it has an epigraph from Samuel Beckett that says, unfathomable mind, now beacon, now see. Door, door, opening on every pulse, the same empty hall, washed and unlit, the same peculiar night lit by green planets. Cradled on the inspired breath, one O, another, the circle we emerged from, blood and muscle, space without sphincter, she pushed, we came, hello? Sound tunnels from one world to the next, sometimes the line goes dead. The unthought scheme of things, design, circle to circle, continent's end, the skin shelf of nothing beyond what's seeable from here, Circe's song, the siren's wail, the ear's small cave, lips vermilion rim, apart, the world comes, I came, she. Then hunger's clawed hand, the reach toward an iron door, penitentiary, century of penitence, patience of the buried, furless creature, iron innocence, barely light, your breath pulsing little tides, mornings left, how many? Day shaking itself awake. A voice opens like water, the poor overboard, the poor filling the world refusing to fill them. Landscape develops rills, loamy with tendrils, the scent of wet earth seeping. That's where we'll go soon, manacled to time. You're it. The body pulls you along. Spill out a line into a place that isn't there yet. Are you singing? Won't. Far-fetched, water pail, moon calf, milk in the face. Awake is full of food. The dead aren't talking. Can't. They lie there listening to us chew. Those pink spotted star lilies that smell too strong. Possibility always open. We turn from it so often. A window and then one orange day gone into the rumpled flannel of a Sunday, and where are you? The spotted hand, lost ring, sweet unlived days, pool of mind, welcome water. Drink, lap, the slip-flap turnings of desire. Wake up, padding, now row under the wavelets, under the covers, slip, slip, in we go. Walk in the kite-flying marina, purple darkness oozing in, open skin. A mind's easing itself up and over the lip of time. Small daily killing, desire unfolding all over again inside the slipknot's loop. Stepping down the mossy stairs into the bottle green bay. Who is it? No one. Me. Black is a quality of space. Vibrations lengthen into flood. The wash, the sea. Who went there? The ones who came before. The embryo, the vanished, gone, the sunk and sinking. What peace is there at this point? Peach-lit fog blows in, scrawling, we go over the edge again. Who said ground is basic? Myriad-minded, shapely, ship-shape, formless, figure an arc, the reach into. Drift grasses, black oolong, sip air and otherness, one conceivable line of time. It floored me, what was there, disguised as nothing. A wall of water, silver surface, creased and wind-driven, sun-stricken, almost painful, from the massive, heavenly dark down here, shining. Janée was nice enough to write a little review of this book on Amazon, which speaks about associative poetry. And you can see the associations roll, and most of them are based on sound in one way or another. So the next poem I'm going to read is called Spell, which is both about the sound of the word spell, and then about all the meanings of spelling, from casting a spell to, in school I was a terrible speller, and still pretty much am. And it's also something about the process of writing itself. The book is written in these very long lines that go all across the page. So the black line and the white space has its own sort of register of meaning within the book, the nothing that's there between the something. So all of that is in this one. It's called Spell. Spelling was beyond me, unlettered, small, knowing soul, ungoverned, on Sesame Street, forgetful Jones. Hymns have their rhythm, Dickinson stole from church. Problematic anthems, black and white speckles on the theme notebooks, blue lines, red margin. I ought to have a scheme, something other than a compulsion to fill in the blanks. This is your skin, prepared for 1,000 words. This is your tongue, prepared for 4 scrolls. Certain bounds hold against chaos. Boundary, bondage, I'll take badinage, liking leaps and bounds without falls, no bandages. 2 lines around white space make a sandwich. Let's collage what we can, form fractured and repaired, blend of is and isn't. What anchors, shape, what reflects. He skipped the flat rock 4 times, mine always sank. This was my idea of the difference between genders. A brother is a terrible thing to confuse. We asked questions. Nothing was spelled out. We'd wind colored balls of yarn for our ancient great-aunt's basket of red, yellow, purple, guarded by her wiry little dog, Mr. Dooley. While dwelling upstairs, my psychotic uncle mumbled and chomped his teeth. Wool gathering. I find myself humming and think of him. The bee. I'd drop out early, sit and watch others' effortful tongues and cheeks, eye scrunches, as if the face could help the mind remember what it never knew, deduce from root and elemental codes, logorrheic, gluttonous, fieriness, gelastic. Whoever knew won a giant Hershey bar, a machine-taught speed reading. Phrases clanked by in threes, waltz time. The more they pushed, the more I dawdled, held the words in my mouth, refused to let my eyes get ahead of my body. A hexagram predicts the future. A hex holds you. A painted sign on the barn door keeps cattle safe. Hexachlorophene and toothpaste ads. Spelunking sounds so alarming, scaling those vertical tight chimneys, caverns where air has never been, bats and piles of guano. People got stuck. Those stupid tourist caves they took us to, colored lights on stalagmites, Witch's Finger, Carlsbad Caverns, drip formations, time as sculptor, mineral as material, car trips, boredom beyond reason, singing helped, but more we wanted out. Eye of newt, adder's fork, lizard's leg, like a hell broth boil and bubble. It came in a dream, the structure of the hexane ring, when Kekule saw the Ouroboros double carbon bonds create form, and along comes smell. In Spellbound, Gregory Peck thinks he's a psychiatrist, but learns otherwise, anxious about black lines on white, ski tracks in snow, forgotten murder of his brother, all that repression undone by Ingrid Bergman, undoing herself along the way. Line gives way to consciousness, Plato's circular creature is first in the universe, one who consumes its own shit, self-feeding, dawn of being, undifferentiated, pre-shape as circle, thought as line of black on white, letters marking the tongue's move, lovely chocolatey aftertaste, palate, pharyngeal pillars, taste papillae, teeth and throat, modulating form and breath out of dark mucosal space, sounds, palate. Must we speak? So as those lines got longer and longer, I got more and more interested in prose and what I could do with that. So the memoir project is mostly prose, but really moves between prose and poem. And it's really structured around all the different narratives of day-to-day life, which we all live inside of, all the family narratives, all the work stories, all the interior dream stories, and wanting the interlacing of all those is part of what this project is about. So I'll read the first one, which sort of announces some of the threads that show up in the rest of the project. It's written in journal form, so each section has a date, not a title. So the first one is May 9th, 2011. The moment I grow old. Soon before turning 60, leaving the pool after a Saturday morning workout with my master's team, stepping across the zone between sidewalk and street, buried in oxalis, my foot vanishes into a hidden hole and I fall, smashing my knee on the pavement. Wadding a Kleenex on top of the blood, I drive home, go up to the bathroom for peroxide, put on my reading glasses, part the lips of the cut, see that I can see all the way down to the patellar tendon, go downstairs and get a book, The Waves, and drive to the Altabates ER. Waiting to be admitted, I read, lost in braided soliloquies, wondering who's who. Spreading the wound open with retractors borrowed from the OR, the doctor rinses and rinses bits of gravel off the tendon. Sarcastic-edged, he's one of those doctors skeptical of psychoanalysis who can't quite believe I take my work seriously. Since the cleaning and stitching up take half an hour, we talk, and somehow, by the time he's taping down the dressing, he's telling me about his withered mother, wondering whether it's depression or dementia setting in. So the project works with this braided narratives as its main structure, if you can call it that. But because I can't possibly read you all the different threads, I, for this reading, pulled out one thread, which are all things that in one way or another relate to my mother. So she's going to be the anchor for this particular thread. June 1st, 2011. 3 years ago, we were driving to LA to visit the uncle of my husband, Kay, listening to an audiobook as I lay dying. We were turning from Route 580 onto the 5 when my mother phoned to tell me that she and her husband, Bob, had just returned from seeing the neurologist. My tall, vain, and vague mother was shaken, off balance as she never is. Because of a transient word-finding trouble, they thought Bob might have had a small stroke. But after his CT scan, he received a new diagnosis, glioblastoma. They were told to expect him to be in a wheelchair in 2 months, dead in 3. He lived for 4. The brain tumor claimed mobility, speech, and mind in increments. When we visited after Christmas, Bob's face was beginning to wear a blank mask. My mother, frightened, took him to hospice, where he sat dressed in his tweedy way, good-naturedly working his crossword puzzles. After a couple of days, the nurses said he was too well and sent him home. He never had a headache or any pain, just an increasingly frustrated inability to speak or make his wishes known. Having divorced my father when I was 25, now widowed by Bob, my mother lives quietly in her tall-windowed Cincinnati house amid pines, lonely but surrounded by beauty, in charge of everything, just as she always wanted. December 21st, 2011. My parents' wedding anniversary, because my romantic father wanted solstice, the longest night. Long divorced, I don't know if my mother still thinks of this. Outside her kitchen window, which is a long horizontal rectangle, above a stove where the backsplash would be. The cardinal came for several years, crimson against the snow and yew bushes. After a couple of weeks of unrelenting snow, I, in temperate California, suggest she put out seed for him. On the phone, she tells me she did, but he couldn't understand. The seeds sank untouched into the snow. He didn't dig them out. But to her annoyance, the big jays came. My mother found a Christmas ornament someone had given her, shaped and colored like a cardinal. She placed the red felt bird on the windowsill inside. It scared the jays away, and also the cardinal, his territory usurped by the very still, warm, and well-fed cardinal roosting inside. Here's my swimming poem, which is a poem about not swimming after shoulder surgery. June 16th, 2012. The arm wants the body to glide in mammalian sleekness, liquid buoyancy, float in a stream of light, launch strokes, pull downs. Rotator functionality, mobility lost and regained, time fools us. Things seem to be going along with a feel of ongoingness. Then the whirligig of mishap and surprise arrives with its shadow of nothingness, and we collapse into flesh, the wish of arm to raise itself into function, protection from blows, snow drifts, iffiness. As long as the fist can strike, the self can soldier on. Protoplasm without shell, bone, calcific form became its own enemy. I just wanted to swim, child play, nascent dance in another medium in which I cannot breathe but long to. Born for fishiness, father taught, mother born in waving certainties, liquid buoyed even when they failed to. Longing for fluid mineral, this mix of effort and joy implying depth. Sorry for the absence of what sustained, water being one of the dappled things. March 2nd, 2013. 2 years later, the same cardinal considers my mother's kitchen window his. He assails the house all day, 7:30 a.m. to p.m., pecking at his own reflection in the arched glass of the living room's eyebrow window, or the low rectangle above the stove, over and over. My widowed mother worries about his wife, left alone all day while he pursues his quixotic battle. She thinks something is wrong with him, wasting his life this way. It's one thing she's been able to Google, birds who peck at windows. She forgets what it said. I Google cardinal behavior, and up come the ills of the Catholic Church. I tell her to consider the cardinal her pet, company without mess. She tried fabricating an indoor scarecrow out of a mop and feather duster, but it only worked for a few days. She worries the bird will break his neck and be found dead on the deck someday. And then what would his wife do, sitting alone on their eggs? On the second day of our visit, some snow, and the cardinal disappears. My mother worries he's died. Then she decides he may have fled from Kay in his crimson down jacket, doing Tai Chi in the driveway, a giant red warrior claiming the turf, so the bird sulks, hides in defeat. 6:30 p.m., he arrives to bang on the glass, and we greet his return with relief, then quickly our ritual annoyance. April 16th, 2013. Her bird now taps for 13 hours as daylight lengthens. She spoke to a friend at Bridge who has a wild turkey pecking at her window. More than a peck, 15 pounds of bird running at the glass. Quote, "It sounds like we're being bombed." My mother worries about my brother moving east since 3 of his children are there. M, do you think they'll wait until after I croak? A, probably. M, the doctor says I could live 10 more years, but they're always wrong about those things. A, yes they are. May 20th, 2013. Her bird must have eggs now, my mother says, since he vanishes for a couple of hours each day, time for his wife to forage. He continues his quest, pecking and pecking. I think he's the pet she won't allow in. The cardinal, me, glanced out of my mother's interior, seeking a way in, towards a warmth or food that does not exist. Endless effort, quixotic battle, beak to glass, beak to glass. Here's a glimpse of a work day. May 24th, 2013. Leaving work, I open the window, set the heater's timer for the morning, turn off the lights, pack up empty lunch Tupperware and thermos, get the mail, cluck to the feral cats who inhabit the parking lot, rattling with the day's overlapping fragments. The sight of Blake's head, a patch of regrowing shaved hair after his surgery, looking like cradle cap. Claire, after our battle over the thermostat, saying her older sister is the queen while she is the rat. Jason's sense of himself as repellent, certain no one will buy his art. I think his mother never touched him. the scientist's logic leading him in concrete paths of thought, so linear it's madness. Matthew's scrambled hair when he arrives with only 10 minutes left in his session. Mark phones to cancel, open hour, I pull out the yoga mat and stretch. A very young woman drawn to a self-absorbed, chaotic guy. Wanting not to seem disapproving, I only ask if he has a therapist. Teaching my penultimate class on analytic endings, the group wants to spend the last meeting reading poems. What will I bring? We already read one art. We read so many goodbye poems. I look for one on graduation and find The School Where I Studied by McCrae, fitting for a group of analytic candidates leaving the nest. Quote, I'm an expert on the botany of good and evil. I'm still studying it. I'll go on studying it till the day I die. June 14th, 2013. At yoga, 3 analysts in a row, all in child's pose. September 4th, 2013. Blake restarts chemo after his very low platelet count and low white cells rose sufficiently. Vomiting, all the fear came back. The one of being trapped in the arms of a poisonous mother, one who's gotten inside of him. Then around the same time, he met a friend of a friend and got together with this nice-sounding man, caring, unlike some in the past. I want for him all the love, sex, and affection he can find. After he leaves, in my mind's ear, Janis Joplin sings Get It While You Can. I watch it on YouTube, remembering when Peter and I went downtown to East 4th Street looking for a winter coat for me in college, and found a secondhand store selling raggedy black seal fur coats in a 1920s style, high wing-like collar. Posing, I looked in the mirror, and behind me was Joplin, trying on a twin coat at the same time, and we smiled at each other's reflections. April 6, 2014. My mother on the phone. Is there a way to sneak up on my blood pressure, since each time I take it, it soars? I get so nervous about it, it won't come down. My heart goes bip, bip, bip like the cardinal pecking at the windows. Should I take an Ativan before I take my pressure? Yesterday, a glare through the window, so I taped a black plastic garbage bag over it, and the cardinal just sat in a tree, looking at it for a long, long time. This is after another visit, January 13th, 2015. Tuesday night, I say goodbye to my mother, since I'll depart. My dictation program translates that as deep art. Before 7 a.m., she'll still be asleep. Her little girl face looks up at me from under faint eyebrows, apologetic, as if asking forgiveness. Who knows for what? I remember her story of being locked in the furnace room when she misbehaved as a child, alone in the basement's darkness. Punished for what crimes? As we hug, I feel her scapulae protrude, not much meat on her ribs. We're both about to cry. This is the foyer where I said goodbye to Bob when he could still stand, before the glio leveled him. Entryway, threshold, place of departure, arrival, a feminine space. When Kay and I moved into our house right after our wedding, he began designing a portal, a roofed front gate, creating a courtyard of the front yard, enclosed space outdoors, transforming our Berkeley home into an ancestral Chinese compound, and my father pronounced Kay a genius. Let's see, I think I will skip some of these. July 5th, 2015. We're in the Grand Canyon. In our Maswick Lodge room, there are photos of the canyon, mesas dissolving into the far distance, so clear. A, not with the haze there is now. Those pictures must be old. K, all pictures are old. After our walk, we set out driving south on 180, west on 40. On the flat plateau, I phoned my mother since we've been out of touch. I was backing out of a parking lot at Kroger's and I heard thump. Uh-oh. I turned around to see. I'd hit a pedestrian. Oh. It was a small hit. What did you do? I pulled out fast so nothing would happen. That's hit and run. He was fine. He kept walking into the store, I think. As we're talking, thunder and downpour began. Then dramatic rain falls, so heavily we can't see more than a few feet. We're following red taillights since that's all we can see. My mother suggests we pull over, a reversal. Now I'm the reckless driver and she's the one giving advice. In a burst of hail, Kay and I agree it would be more dangerous to stop, the risk of getting rear-ended by someone trying to follow us. Inching on, we watch it pass. The voluminous clouds roll westward. Stopping for lunch in Williams, we land in the 1950s, space aliens at whom everyone stares. Each time I look up, I find a gaze darting away from the odd combination of us. All the other diners have white hair, white skin, and are eating homemade pie. January 10th, 2016, back in Cincinnati. My mother's looking older, paler, under her clear skin and permed hair, which is taking on a light reddish cast. At 88, she's still playing bridge a few times a week, still walking most days. I start to fall sick with a cold as soon as I arrive and hide this from her as best I can because I know she will worry about contagion. When I was 19, dropped out of college, wandering, staying with friends in a commune in Oregon, she sent me a note with one sentence, "Remember about germs." A dusting of snow overnight, an inch or so. The house is silent among the bare branched trees. Late morning, the cardinal comes to greet us, banging on the kitchen window, posing in the snow-covered holly bush, pushing forward his puffy crimson breast. I give my mother the preface to Kay's translation of the Lao Tzu to read, really the history of an embattled generation. Warlords, the Japanese invasion, Mao's takeover, the family's exile. Kay's chapter begins with this couplet his grandfather gave him. When illusion is treated as real, the real also becomes illusory. If nothing is taken to be something, something turns out to be nothing. He talks about the Lao Tzu's non-existence, the nothingness that preceded the origin of yin and yang. My mother throws down the pages. I can't read this. I can't make hide nor hair of non-existence. Keep going. You'll like the part about his family. If you say so. We spend the day reading, drinking tea, two solitary beings, companionly sharing the silence. Conscious that I'm sitting in Bob's seat by the window, I think she's not noticing this. It helps when there's a visitation by the bird. Thank you.